This is News and Views, and our first interview of the morning. Yay! And we thank you, Dr. Pali Lehohla. You are going to be talking to us about something really very, very important, and that, of course, is Tintswalo's lost dream. A Stats South Africa report has unveiled
You
stark...
disappeared now.
Have I disappeared again?
Yes,
Can you hear
just
me
as you said,
now?
just on the point when you said teens, then that disappeared.
Let's try again. So we seem to have loads of gremlins in the system this morning, and I'm going to blame it on the weather. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you very well, yes.
Perfect. Let's start with that introduction all over again, but we'll take a different tack. You are Professor of Practice at UJ. You're also Research Associate at Oxford University, a board member of Institute for Economic Justice at WITS, and a distinguished alumni of the University of Ghana. You are the former Statistician General of South Africa, and you've done a sterling piece of work as a Christmas gift to us here in South Africa, which focuses, I think the underlying message is all about what President Ramaphosa has spoken about, and it's Tintswalo's lost dream. Talk to us about how much of work was involved here and the findings of this report.
Well, the findings of the report are very clear that the Statistician General has made public, taking the 30 years, and it's an important report. It really focuses on the economic sectors. That is what is happening in mining, what is happening in agriculture, what is happening in this, and all the other sectors, and looks at the degree of concentration on those, whereby what do the 5 biggest companies in South Africa share? What is their share? For instance, 5%, 5 of these companies take a lion's share in this industry and that industry and that industry. Mine was then to look at that share by these companies, the degree of concentration, what is happening in the small business area as well in relation to all this. But once I've looked at that, then cast my eyes on the Tintswalos, that is the social and the population side of measurement, and then put a mirror against this. And all that says is that the high level of concentration of economic activity in few hands mirrors what we see in what has happened to the population in the last 30 years. Some rapid improvements in the first 15 years, but total declines in the latter 15 years. So South Africa has been a country of two time zones, a game of two sides.
Okay, I'm going to make a comment here, and then you can respond to it as well. I think this is a really an amazing piece of work, and I do salute you for being with us on the show this morning to unpack it. But when you talk about the first 15 years at the start of democracy, things looked very, very promising. And then the balance of those 15 years bringing us into 30 years of democracy has been absolutely dismal. That picture does tell us a lot, does it not? That during the tenure of Nelson Mandela and Thabo Mbeki, it seemed as if we were moving in the right direction. But once their tenure ended, it's so plain to see that the country started taking a downward dive because of a whole host of issues, cadre deployment, and all of the scandals that we still haven't gotten on top yet. Corrupt politicians, corrupt business people, and people being in each other's pockets. And the rot just started going very deeply. How do you see it the same way as I do? And do you believe
looks like my connection is getting
weaker? Your picture has just frozen. Can you hear me now? Professor, your picture has frozen. We're going to have to try and reconnect. Okay, we'll see if we can get a hold of you on the telephone. Let's
As
go for
he
an ad
tried to get
break.
into,
We're going to go for an ad break and try and see if we can't get you on a more stable line. What a disaster.
Moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media.
لا تقل لوحدي أو كيف السبيل
Humanity sets the agenda.
تصنع المستحيل.
World-class financial services only at Sapphire Global.
Africa, Africa.
8:49 a.m. News and Views on Salam Media. Welcome back to you, Professor. Are you there and can you hear me? I do apologize for all of the gremlins. We are talking I apologize. It's Dr. Pali Lehohla. I kept referring to you as Professor. My apologies. Welcome back. Can you hear me?
Yes, well, thank you very much.
Okay, let's just pick up from where we've left off. It's really the issue around the mirage of Tintswalo's failed intergenerational value. This President Cyril Ramaphosa has said points to how monopolies remain fully cushioned and milk it all the way to accumulation on the back of numerically preponderant black population whose impoverished status as they are forms the broad-based guarantee of extra profits exacted through the systematic leeches of concentration. He has pointed a finger at the minority groups, particularly the white minority groups, whom, according to the report, according to his statements, have indicated that they are still the white privileged. But I think we also need to cast our minds and eyes to the decline within our political structures and how they have let the country down as well. Our black brothers and sisters in positions of power, how they have tried to grab with both hands. I hand over to you now to unpack further.
Yes, I suppose you are attributing what you read to myself and not to the president. Unless there is coincidence in what I say and what he says.
My apologies. It's your statement. My apologies.
My statement. Yes. I want that distinction made so that we don't have cross lines.
Right.
Well, I think the problem is that the policy decisions are such that they have created this condition of high concentration. And of course, the policy decisions have created conditions for corruption. So when we argue that corruption is with us, it's not that people are born corrupt, but in many ways, the system that we are in facilitates corruption and legitimizes it because that exists within a process of legitimacy. The impact, however, is the most unequal society, which means that the policies that are legitimate, creating an illegitimate and an inequitable society, they are working against what we think our expectations are. And
so, Doctor, let me ask you.
Yeah,
let me ask you this very important question. And I know that you do point to two very serious issues within our community, within South Africa, and that is the issue around medical aid, and that is why the government wants to forge ahead with the NHI, which actually hasn't worked in the UK and other countries in the world, and yet they're pushing ahead. Perhaps with the best of intentions, but whether it's going to be workable is another issue. And then something else you raise as well is the high youth unemployment rate and the education system as well, which in the Model Cs and the other schooling systems, not the schooling systems of the privileged, has a lot to be desired. Can you focus in on those issues for me?
Oh yes, I mean the NHI is the right way to go, I must say. However, again, here we have policies that do not support the NHI, which is the right way to go. Minister Motsoaledi had started recruiting food soldiers of health as far back as 2014 in order to facilitate at the right time the NHI. If you go to Rwanda, that's exactly what they did. They had the food soldiers, health workers, and then implemented the NHI, and it succeeding. So if in Germany, it succeeded very well. So the Treasury couldn't finance Minister Mutwale. In fact, what happened in the end, the people he recruited, the Treasury managed to pit those people against him. And it's probable that way he had to go to Home Affairs because of that problem. So the system is so corrupt that it pits the one authority against the other.
Mm.
It has this independence. There is no independent interdependence in the way the system in South Africa works. So you can give the Treasury guys bonuses for performing in whatever way they perform when the growth rate of the country is 1% or less. So these are things that are very, very seriously contradictory, and they talk to what is called independence. That is very independent, instead of independence that is very interdependent. And that interdependence then looks at the impact. So when you look at the health, for instance, medical aid schemes are looking at 9 million people or 2.4 million households.
Mm.
And the rest of the 14 million households or 15 million households out of the 17 million households, the majority of which are black and colored, have to seek their own means somewhere else. Now, we have created an elite system that takes half the budget of health, or uses half the budget of the government, or half the expenditure of consumption on health, when they only constitute 10% of the population. That is being said, or 15% of the population. That's unfair. But worse still, the people who are supposed to lead this have medical private care like myself and do not have their children in other care. Yet they are in positions of leading what should be care. So these are things that surely are very wrong. And they are facilitated by incentives that are corrupt.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the people that are in this, that are leading, are also partners in the medical schemes. They are directors in those. So they facilitate this unfairness instead of leading us out of it. When it comes to education, well, we hear that the pass rate has increased to about 85%. Now, we also use very bad measures. Those measures exclude, and when you compare them with the IEB, where the IEB certainly says 95% of the children that go through the IEB get a university pass.
Mm-hmm.
We don't distinguish that when we come to the NSC. That's not school certificate.
Okay, so everything
Which
is
sadly-
really
which sadly-
skewed. Everything is
which
skewed
sadly-
in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which sadly only qualifies about 33% of those to pass matric with a decent pass. The rest don't, or 31%.
Okay.
But these measures are placed there as though,
yeah.
I mean, they are so deceptive. Terrible.
Dr. Pali, I do apologize. We've run out of time because of the sound and technical problems we had earlier on. I do have my next guest standing by. Can you just very quickly in the next minute summarize the impact of this report on South Africa as a whole? So I'll give you a minute just to summarize if you don't mind.
The impact of the report is this. The concentrations that we see in the report point to the disparities that we see in the population, particularly the racialized disparities that map on the racialized concentrations, with a few black elites being part of that racial group of white people who own. And that really doesn't augur well for national unity. It doesn't augur well for South Africa to move forward. It has hamstrung South Africa's development.
Thank you. That's where we're going to leave it. I do look forward to having another conversation with you in the future when we have more time available on the show. But thank you indeed. God bless. Until the next time, stay safe. It is exactly 8:59 a.m. News and Views on Salam Media, and our next guest is on standby, and that, of course, is McQueen Lehohla Matai, the Premier of the Free State.